What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I have the whole crew with me today: Anthony, Lori, Mike, and Casey. And we are discussing episode 5 of Loki. And let me tell you, so tonight we were actually supposed to be recording to talk about another show. And after, I would say maybe the first 10, 15 minutes of watching Loki today while I was on my lunch break at work, I was like, yo, I know we're supposed to talk about such and such show, but y'all, we got to talk about Loki. Lori hadn't seen it. Mike hadn't seen it. They were like, okay, well, Lori wasn't sure she was going to get to it today. And since we were supposed to talk about another show, Mike hadn't watched it. And then afterwards, Lori was like, oh, I can actually talk about it. I can actually watch it tonight. So we can talk about it if we want. And then Mike puts in the group chat 9 minutes in. He was like, okay, yeah, I see why you want to talk about this show.
Oh my God. I mean, I've never, in one scene, you see like five, I saw 3 or 4 things where that like, I was like, yo. Oh my God. Lori got her wish for what she wanted to see.
It wasn't Frog Thor, but I think Alligator Loki comes pretty close, you know.
All I know is that my husband was setting up my fans. He walks in, he sees them throw the alligator Loki, and he's like, what? Because he's behind 2 episodes. He was like, oh, we gotta watch this. Oh,
this episode, oh my God, it was so much fun.
It was surreal. This is one of the most surreal episodes.
Like seeing like 50 different Lokis in one place was just weird.
And 2 Tom Hiddlestons. We saw 2 Tom Hiddlestons.
I will never ever complain about seeing 2 Tom Hiddlestons ever.
And the old school Loki costume, it was just it was, like I said, I thought it was I've been down on these episodes, but this one is not bad. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, I was actually worried after, I think it was the 3rd episode that I was kind of let me down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Tom Hiddleston wasn't lying. Episode 4 and 5 are like, yeah. This is game changers, like for real. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. So getting into the episode starts out and we're seeing various different scenes. We get this upside down shot of the TVA, which, if you think about it, pretty much describes life at the TVA right now. Like, everything is topsy-turvy. Maybe not for the analysts and the other people who are working there because they don't know everything that's going on. But, you know, we get this close up into the elevator doors, and then we get into the timekeeper's chamber, where, of course, last episode, all kinds of chaos ensued. You know, Sylvie and Loki, they're brought before the timekeepers. We find out the timekeepers are fake. Loki has been pruned. Mobius has been pruned. So everything is kind of a mess right now. And then, you know, we get another shot of this place where at the end of the last episode, or the mid-credit scene from the last episode, we see that Loki is actually prone, but he is not dead. He wakes up in this place that looks very chaotic, lots of destruction, looks like New York. You see this really big energy cloud, I guess is the best way to put it. And then, you know, Loki has woken up and he's got 4 Loki variants staring him in the face. So you get these 2 shots automatically at the beginning of the show, and it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? So Loki is like, okay, where am I? Who are you? What is that? And the classic Loki answers, this is the void, that is Alioth, and we're about to be his dinner. Let's go. And it's just kind of like, all Loki can do is just run after them, and it's just and we get the, you know, the Loki logo, and I'm like, okay. Not only, excuse me, I forgot to mention the energy cloud is actually like an energy dragon.
Yeah.
Or
yeah. It's like an oversized guard dog, kind of like it's guarding whatever's on the other side of the board.
It's a trans-temporal entity for Doctor Who people. It is a trans-temporal entity. It is a creature that exists across multiple timelines, whose only purpose is to destroy.
Yes, he looks very formidable.
Which, let's not, since we're talking about life, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm going to dial back on something that I said about people not showing up or not expecting people to show up. So now I've been, Mike has gotten into my subconscious. So it is possible. I have a theory.
Oh,
Yes!
No, I'm just
write
kidding.
this
I'm just kidding.
down.
I
Write
just
this
said that for
I
down.
knew
Mike.
I'd win.
I just said that for
I
Mike.
knew I'd win.
I said it for Mike. It's not a theory. I'm just piggybacking on what Mike said.
Yes, it is.
It's possible
You can't take it back now.
it's possible that Kane actually may show up.
Mhm.
I doubt it. It's probably, for me, it's like 30%, not 80% like Mike said. About 30%.
I don't know.
That Kane shows up because Kane captures Goliath in the comic book and basically uses him as a weapon.
Gotcha. But yeah,
So-
I don't know. I really think that percentage might can be upped a little
I'm
bit.
up to 90. I'm up to 90.
Because here's the other thing too. Just this week alone, you know, of course, like I always say, I always try to avoid other articles, other podcasts, other, you know, I try to avoid things before we watch the episode or before we talk about the episode, because I don't want other thoughts to kind of bleed into mine and probably like skew my first reactions to what I've seen. But one of the things I've noticed throughout my social media, like Facebook's, Twitter, everything that's been coming across my timeline and my news feeds, there are a lot of articles about Kang the Conqueror showing up. And, you know, Jonathan Majors confirming that he's Kang and when he'll appear. And then, of course, one of them says, but will we see him in Loki first? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to say that, because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole like we've done before. But then after watching this episode, I was like, where else can they go? They have, at this point, they have to reveal him.
And I swear, on the Avengers Tower, it says Kang.
I'm getting ready to look at it.
On the destroyed Avengers Tower.
Mm.
Because the helicopter, I know we're getting way ahead, but like the helicopter.
Hey,
but let me
this
stop.
Is a free for all. This is a free for all.
No, we're talking about that Thanos helicopter. Yes, we are.
Yes,
the hell we are. Yes, we are.
This is more fun. We can talk about whatever comes to mind. But yes, let's talk about that helicopter, because I didn't write anything down because I knew Mike was going to have it covered. But I saw something about that helicopter. And here's the thing. I was looking at the different little things that they were showing us while we were in the void, which is what this reality, I guess you can call it, is called. That's what Loki finds out while he's there. And this is basically every time the TVA prunes a timeline, or you know, when they reset a timeline, as Renslayer explained it to Sylvie in the episode, they can't get rid of all of the matter from that timeline. So they have to find some place for it to go. So there is this void that is at the end of time that they just kind of take everything, they just dump stuff there. So they've got, every time someone has been pruned and their timeline has been reset, everything that hasn't been able to be destroyed is sent there. So you've got just like a mashup of all types of different realities, all types of different things, which is why we see all of these different Lokis in this episode. So one of the things I was doing, because everything was going so fast, I was trying to catch like Easter eggs and trying to catch different things and see what I can identify. And after a while, I just gave up. I said, you know what? I said, I know either Anthony or Mike or Lori are going to catch it, because you guys are the comic people and you will recognize things that will probably slip over my head. But there were a couple of things, like you saw the cafeteria trays, which I was like, that's weird. They've got cafeteria trays in that little pan down when they're going down into the Loki's little secret hideout. But the little thing that was jumping in the jar trying to get out, was that Thor? That was Thor from Avengers when he was in the.
That was Frog Thor.
That was Frog Thor.
Okay, I was trying to figure out, because I was like, it looks like an animal, but then I saw the cape and it was moving too fast, and every time I every time I paused it, it was blurry, so I couldn't tell what it was. So okay, that was Frog Thor. Okay, gotcha. So Lori, did you squeal when you saw Frog Thor?
I kind of did a little bit, yeah.
She's been asking for it.
She has been
the whole
asking for it
season.
since the beginning of this show. She has been talking about Frog Thor.
Look, I'm the one that plunked down X amount of dollars several years ago to get Walt Simonson's Thor Omnibus, specifically because of Frog Thor. So yes, I was excited.
Oh goodness. So okay, Mike, tell us about this helicopter and tell us whether or not Anthony was correct about the word Kang being on Avengers Tower. Because again, there was too much stuff going on here. I was like, you know what? I'll look for that stuff later. But I knew Mike, if anything, you're gonna have a little bit of that covered.
Okay, so first off, it doesn't look like it says Kang on there. There's not a K on there.
Okay.
If anything, it almost looked like it said Coogee, but I was like, why would they have a Coogee skyscraper? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, did they prune Biggie Smalls where he ruled New York finally? That didn't make any sense. It could say Kronos. It could be something for Kronos, but I don't know.
The reason why I thought it was Kang, I guess, because I have a bias towards it, because that tower was Fantastic Four also used that tower as well. And
okay.
Kang is Franklin Richards,
right.
descendant.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
All right. So the Thanos copter is really funny because this is one of the things where there are a lot of Marvel universes, and this is like an old issue of Spidey Super Stories. It came out in 1979. And Thanos used the copter to attack Hellcat. And of course, she was trying to get the cosmic cube. But this is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the one where they actually arrest Thanos. Like, they put him in handcuffs and take him to jail. It's a weird comic, but yes, it's actually a helicopter that Thanos used to try to get the cosmic cube from Hellcat.
Okay.
So it's actually, fun fact, when I was looking at, there's an alternate reality in Earth 616 where Thanos actually picked up Deadpool in the Thanos copter because he hired him to help him get the cosmic cube. So
I'm sorry, I'm sitting here trying to imagine Thanos being in the same space with Deadpool and how unimaginably infuriating that must have been. Because Deadpool don't take shit seriously,
There's a whole comic book series called Cable and Deadpool. If you ever have a few days or a weekend, check it out because it's everything and more. Okay, and they did such a good job with it that I guys help me. Did Thanos show up in this or not? Because I can't remember because it's been years. But if you could think of the least likely place to put Deadpool, they put Deadpool and or Cable in at the same time.
I'm not sure because I mean, there's the whole thing with Deadpool and Thanos trying to compete for Lady Death's love.
Yep.
So, I mean, he might. I think he might actually be in there, but I'm not sure. But I know that Thanos is the one that made it so Deadpool couldn't die. So, but yeah, I'm looking at the issue of Spidey Super Stories that has the whole thing about it. But yeah, it's from Earth 57780. The issue was published in 1979. And it's just one of the weirdest.
What issue number is that?
That is issue, volume 1, issue 39 of Spidey Super Stories.
I actually think I have that. Let me see if I can grab that.
You know what? If you don't have it,
okay,
Lori,
I'm not surprised.
I would be surprised.
Well, no, I cheated because I have a whole bunch of essentials, and a lot of that Spidey stuff and essentials are in there. They're just numbered weirdly, but let me see if I can pull it out because now I want to read it.
Gotcha. Okay, so moving on with the episode, we need to talk about Judge Renslayer and her little trifling lion. Have I mentioned that I do not like this character? Why are you laughing at me, Anthony?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how ridiculous she is. She's like, "Oh yeah, you can trust me." Why would you ever want to trust this chick?
Right.
She's about as bad as a freaking Loki. Are we sure she's not a Loki variant? Because she's lying through her fucking teeth.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Now, there are some things that I think I may believe her about. I think she really doesn't know who's behind it. And I think that's probably the look of panic that we saw on her face when C20 was giving her testimony. Because if you look at it and what she says to Sylvie, she says, because I want to find out why they lied to me. She seemed very sincere in that statement. Now, there were times when she was talking to Sylvie that you could tell she was lying and she was being shady. But I think in that respect, she really was being truthful. Like maybe she didn't know that she was a variant as well.
Yeah, but was it either Sylvie or B15 who asked her why continue? Basically, why continue the lie? Like, why are we still doing this?
Okay, so B15
Yeah.
did, yes, B15 asked her that when she came to see her, and like she told her, her whole thing was she claims that the TVA still needed to be protected, but that was just her way of trying to cover up everything because again, if the people at the TVA find out that they're variants, if they find out that they have been living lives and they have been pruning people who were basically just like them, variants, that might cause a coup.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the lone person standing there. But notice, even with the guards who she has with her, whenever they are confronting somebody and they get to say a little bit too much, she either sends the guards away or she knows that something is going to be said that's going to be too much information. She sends the guards away like she did when she was talking to B15, or she had them prune Mobius before he got a little bit too far with saying what he was trying to say. Because if you're sitting there as a guard listening to Mobius say something like, you know, I want to go back to the life I had before the TVA stepped in. She immediately said, prune him. And they pruned him without hesitation. So they probably weren't thinking in that time, like, oh, why would he say something like that? What does he mean? The TVA created all of us. Now, maybe afterwards, they thought something about it, just like I think the guard that was with her when they were confronting Sylvie. After Sylvie pruned herself, and he turned around and said, she pruned herself. And she was like, good. That just means she's dead anyway. Did you see how the guard looked? He was like so confused.
Yeah.
So I think she's trying to keep up appearances so that the whole thing doesn't come crumbling down on her, especially since now she knows the timekeepers that she's been going to are not really real people. So now she needs to figure out, okay, who really is behind all of this? Like right now, she's her own ally. She's the only person she has that she can trust.
Yeah, and I like how Sylvie, going back to Sylvie for a second, after they agreed to work together, Sylvie was holding her hand like, where is this ship we need?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's like, where are the files? How long is it going to take you? She knew.
Because that wasn't coached at all. Like,
Right.
oh, you mean the Void ship? I mean,
Oh, the prototype?
even Miss Minutes with her drawn cartoonish ass, you could tell something was shady about her. She was looking at her like, I mean, it's almost like Miss Minutes had a personality, like you could see a facial expression on this cartoon because she was looking at Renslayer like, oh yeah, you mean the I was like, really? And then the way Renslayer was looking at her like, yeah. I was like, yeah, y'all about to do something. I don't trust neither one of y'all.
Either one of them.
Nope.
None. And somebody explained to me why Miss Minutes is from the South. Hey, y'all. Like, really?
Almost there. Almost got it.
She is most definitely from South Georgia.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I guarantee she only puts butter and salt and pepper on her grits, no sugar.
So while Sylvie and Renslayer are having this conversation. This is after everything that happened, and Renslayer pruned Loki. This is where she tells Sylvie, well, Loki may not be dead. He may still be alive. And that's when she tells her about the void. And she says that, we want the same thing. I need to find out who's behind all of this too, because I need to figure out why they lied to me. Now, I don't know if she's thinking that they lied to her about her life or about who she is or about what their purpose is, or if she's mad about the fact that she's been going talking to 3 androids. She might just be mad about that, but also I think she really is curious. She's like, okay, I need to see who's doing this and what, and why. But
She may be curious, but I think she know way more than she letting on. While she's trying to act like she don't know what's going on and I'm lost and all that. She knows way, because even when Sylvie pruned herself and she was talking to the guards, after she turned around, she started smiling.
Yeah, after she told Miss Minutes to go find, what was it? She needs to find everything from the beginning of time and everything about who created the TVA. And Miss Minutes is like, okay, I'm on it. And then, she smiled. And I was like, oh, because she told Miss Minutes, she said, I think whoever created the TVA is in danger and we need to find them and warn them. I don't think that's her intent at all. Like,
absolutely not.
Yeah, she wants to find out who is in charge.
But I think,
yeah, I don't know. She might want to take over the TVA. She might want to be in charge.
She probably do.
Because, I mean, here's the thing. She's a judge. Yes. She's in a position of high power. But if you look at everything that's happened to her, especially since we know what happened to her with Sylvie when Sylvie was young, Sylvie was able to get the upper hand on her and get away. Renslayer is very ineffective. Like, she's not good at her job. I mean, she let a little girl get away from her and steal her TemPad, not once, twice. The same girl done stole her TemPad twice. Sylvie stole it when she was a child. She stole it in this episode to get to the void. You've been confiding in and working for 3 beings that are probably being remote controlled from somewhere. You took the 2 variants up to see these timekeepers, thinking that you were about to get, whatever reward because you just brought them the variants they wanted. And one of your own agents betrays you and helps the variants out because you've been lying to them. I'm curious to see
technically
what's
2
happen.
Agents, because Mobius turned.
Oh yeah. I was about to get to him. I really want to see what's about to happen when Mobius comes back to, as he say, burn it to the ground. That's about to be some shit. Because she pruned him, and then if he had any doubts at all about what Loki told him before he got pruned, that was erased the minute he woke up in the void.
Oh yeah.
So it's about to be on and popping with them. Yeah. Oh.
We only get 1 more episode.
What was it that you told me? A friendship like ours is uncommon? Oh yeah, it sure is. It's about to get even more uncommon. Like, I'm glad we saw Mobius. I'm glad Mobius is strong enough to survive the void. I was about to say the fold. Look at me. I'm glad.
Where the Grisha?
Think about it. That Alioth, he kind of looked like the fold, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so too. I was like, that's really kind of reminiscent of the fold, except there's not a lot of little bitty monsters. It's actually a huge monster. One huge monster.
Yeah. So while we're walking through the void, before Loki starts getting some answers to his thousands of questions that he has, there are some images that we see that are kind of in the void. And I just wanted to know, Mike, were you able to figure out what any of these were? We see like an old shipwreck, and then there's something else that almost looks like a spaceship that I feel like I've seen before. But I'm not sure. It just looks really like some of this stuff looks really familiar to me.
It almost looked like a shield. You have to remember, like, some of these things, like I saw someone someone mentioned that it could be something from not the Eternals, but the Celestials. Like they could have. It's
Ah,
absolutely possible that they could have retconned Celestial, and that's where they went, or their armor went, or something like that. Because they're saying the Celestials and the Time Lizards are kind of like with the way they were seen is kind of almost as equals. So
okay.
that could be something from a Celestial.
Okay, because
Well,
I
the
think
ship,
there's a satellite in here too.
yeah, well, the ship was the Mary Celeste. It was a ship that was discovered
Yeah.
adrift in the 1870s,
Okay.
where everybody was missing from the ship,
Okay.
and there was like half-eaten food and whatnot, kind of like the Roanoke thing. It's very
Okay.
similar.
Okay. Because I know that the ship that dropped down later on in the episode, I know that that was a ship from history as well.
Yeah, the ship that went invisible, that the naval experiment.
Yes.
There's the
Yeah.
Philadelphia experiment.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
been like all kinds of movies about that,
Right.
movies and TV shows talking about
Yeah, that was the
Philadelphia
USS
experiment.
Eldridge.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, the Eldridge. Yeah, the face, the living tribunal. Like later in the episode, you can see like his head was in the landscape.
It was several heads in the
Yeah,
landscape.
one of them was Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man.
Oh.
One of the heads. So
See,
there's
this is
all
why
kinds of
I
there's
love
all
y'all
kinds
because
of
I
crap.
knew y'all would know this stuff. Because I'm sitting here like, I
Yeah.
said, there's way too many things in here. Like, I would literally have to pause and do some research because I was like, there's so much stuff here. And I know that they don't put stuff into these Marvel shows willy-nilly. They don't put them in
Yeah,
there.
they do.
Not always.
Yeah, they
Sometimes they
do.
put some stuff in there that actually has some significance.
Well, the living tribunal might be significant because he is supposed to be protecting the multiverse. So if you were trying to do whatever this person is doing, the
Mhm.
first thing you would need to do is to kill the living tribunal,
Okay.
which is not something that's easy to do considering he's a celestial.
Right.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay.
It's not easy at all.
wait, is he a celestial?
Living Tribunal, he might be his own thing.
You might be right. I can't. They've been mucking things up in the MCU
He's just a
anyway. So.
cosmic entity. It just says
Yeah, he's a
cosmic
cosmic
entity.
entity.
He's
Yeah,
not necessarily a celestial.
yeah, he's a cosmic entity. But he's supposed to guard the multiverse, and if you're gonna do what this person's doing, you'd want to kill him.
Right. Okay. But it's so funny. So while they're walking through this thing, they're trying to get away from the scary energy monster. And Loki is still trying to figure out like where are we? What the hell is going on? And it's so funny because he stops them. He was like, will someone please explain to me what the hell is going on? Look, it's been a very, very, very trying past few days or months. I don't even know how long it's been since New York. All I know is I got pruned. I woke up here and now I'm surrounded by variants of myself plus an alligator, which I'm heartbroken to say. I don't find all that strange. I was like, why would you be heartbroken, Loki? But it's so funny because he's saying all of this and he's kind of getting loud, and all of a sudden Kid Loki like pulls out this sword and like points it at him and he falls to the ground. And I was just like, even from that first one, I was like, okay, I'm a Kid Loki fan. Like, I don't even know nothing about him, but I'm a fan. They all of these versions of Loki, the three that we met at first, and I'm not counting the alligator because he doesn't speak. The only person who can understand him is classic Loki. So I'm not counting him right now. But it's so funny to think that all of these are Lokis and they all have such distinct personalities, but at the same time, they all do seem to have like, there is a familiarity about all of them, which I think is really great because you've got one that's older, you've got one that's younger, you've got one that's a brother, then we've already met the female, and then we've got our Loki, and they're all really different, and yet at the same time, they're all really similar. And I thought that was
Yeah.
just so what it was so fun. And then the way that the three new variants kind of I won't say they were necessarily teasing Loki, but they poked their fun at him. And it's kind of like, it's funny watching Loki be the serious one in the whole episode. Like, you have the other Lokis that come into the episode later on and they're fighting amongst each other and they're betraying each other and they're doing all this stuff. And he's the one looking around like, what the hell have I gotten into? I told my daughter, I said, you know what Loki is thinking right now when he starts running out, trying to get away from them when they start fighting? I said, he's probably thinking, oh my God, is this what Thor had to put up for all of those years? Like, oh my goodness, I owe my brother an apology.
I thought classic Loki had the best story.
He did.
You know, he had the best story.
I love their stories. I mean, you know, we find out about all of their Nexus events, like when they continue on their way, Loki says to classic Loki, he was like, wait, why are you the one wearing the horns? Like, why are you letting a kid be in charge? And they say, well, this is his kingdom. I was like, oh, wait. So was he the first? You know, I just started thinking, like, was he the first variant? Like, why is that his kingdom? Is he the first variant, or was he the strongest, or whatever? I guess it really doesn't matter. But when, you know, Loki tries to be a little sarcastic asshole, as he does sometimes, he's like, oh, well, your majesty, what was your Nexus event? And Kid Loki turns around and tells him, I killed Thor, and turns back around and walks off.
Like, what?
And Loki's look was like, oh, you know, because he's, you know, we've talked about this before. He has kind of a love-hate relationship with his brother. Like, I genuinely think he loves Thor, but he's always been in competition with him. Always felt like, you know, Thor was treated better. Thor was, you know, he was supposed to be the one who was supposed to rule Asgard. So there's always been a huge sibling rivalry there. And we know just from the MCU, yeah, Loki has tried to kill Thor maybe a couple of times. So there is that more of a hate-leaning relationship than love. But I think for him to actually hear that one version of himself actually did kill his brother, it was just kind of like, okay, wait a minute. You know, you have to start reconsidering, like considering, okay, what did I do right, or what did I do wrong, or why are we so? It's just one of those things, because they all have such different tales as far as how they got there. Boastful Loki says that he defeated Captain America and Iron Man and had possession of the Infinity Stones. I was like, wait a minute, dude. Right. I need to know more of your backstory. Like, exactly how strong are you and how conniving are you?
Yeah.
Well, I know. Alligator Loki called him out on it, apparently. And then, you know, we do hear the classic Loki's tale where you know, Loki tells him, he was like, but we're all supposed to die, right? Like, Thanos kills us after Ragnarok, right? And that's when classic Loki tells his tale about how he came face to face with Thanos, and his magic is so strong. And that was something else they talked about, the strength of their magic. But he says that what he was able to do was create a real enough version of himself that Thanos even thought that he killed Loki. I was like, what? And he said he hid his inanimate debris. And then he left and went to live on his own, because he realized that everywhere he went, he brought nothing but pain. And it was one of those, you see Loki, our Loki, react to that a little bit, and he kind of looks at him like, what? Because this is the same thing that Mobius told him. This is your purpose. You bring pain and destruction and ruin everywhere you go, and you only exist to make other people better. So it's kind of like hearing another version of himself say this. It's kind of like, oh damn, is that really all I'm worth? Like, is that what I'm supposed to be?
Right.
But this, you know, classic Loki goes to another planet. He lives in isolation. And then when Loki says, well, what changed? How did the TVA find you? He says, I got lonely. I missed my brother. And again, this is something that our Loki can actually relate to, because he does, again, he does love Thor. He just kind of hates him more at this point right now from where we took him. But listening to those stories and just thinking about all the different versions of the Lokis that we've seen, because we see a couple dozen of them, because when Loki decides, hey, I've got to figure out a way to get out of here, I've got to get back to the TVA, I've got to get back to Sylvie, when he gets ready to leave, there are maybe a couple dozen Lokis, including a doppelganger of himself or another version of himself that is President Loki. And he looked up and he was like, this is a nightmare. Again, you are getting payback for everything you put your brother and your father through. I think this is the payback. You get to deal with so many different versions of yourself. And I really find it interesting that with all of those variants, there wasn't another female. Like Sylvie really is the only female Loki variant. And I was just like, so my question is, how did that come into the universe?
Well, if they follow along via Bad Batch, she is one of the more original models of Loki. Because in Bad Batch, not to spoil anything, they basically took Omega's DNA from a certain character that we've seen throughout the years and made her an original copy versus the rest of the clones. So it's possible that she is not Prime, but she might be second Prime.
She's the original.
If that makes sense.
I think anytime we talk about clones, the Marler brothers, they come into my head.
Naturally.
Right. But oh my goodness. Seeing the different Lokis, the variants, and so we find out that boastful Loki has given up their location because he wants to be king. So he's betraying Kid Loki because he wants his crown. And President Loki has apparently promised, okay, you show us where you are, I'll give you an army, you can take over, blah, blah, blah. And President Loki is like, yeah, about that. No, I'm going to be king. And then he gets betrayed by his army. And it's like, are you serious? I was like, y'all are a bunch of Lokis. What did you expect? Y'all betrayed
all the gods of mischief, so they're supposed to.
Times like this, I want to quote the great philosopher Hoban Washburn when he says, "Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal." It's like that's all I could think about when I was watching this. I was like,
yeah, but it's like I said, it's funny to see all of these different versions of Loki fighting amongst themselves, and our Loki being the reasonable one. Like he's the mature one in the group. What the hell?
Right.
Side note, the Vote Loki is from a Vote Loki. It's a comic book series. It was like 4 issues during the 2016 election. So
oh my god.
But I mean it was an interesting little comic book. I don't remember. I just remember I picked it up because I thought it was going to be something, and it was just like some random stupid shit. Like it didn't really have anything to do about the election, and because it didn't take a side and whatnot. But it was just an interesting story about Loki running for president.
Okay, that's cute. But yeah, like I said, it's so funny looking at our Loki being the level-headed one. And so anyway, classic Loki, he conjures up some copies of himself, Kid Loki, Alligator Loki, and our Loki, and they get into the fray and start fighting with the other Lokis while they escape. And in the midst of all this, while this is going on here in the void, Sylvie is, like we said, she and Renslayer are talking. Renslayer is trying to present herself as an ally, which I was looking at my screen with my lips pursed the whole time, like, bitch, please. Sylvie is not falling for this. Sylvie is one of the, if I can say it, she's one of the smarter Lokis, probably the smarter Loki, even smarter than ours. She's not about to fall for that mess. Right. She just wants you to tell her what you did with our Loki so she can go and save him. And then what happens is Renslayer is using Miss Minutes to stall because Miss Minutes, I guess, while she was looking up the information she was supposed to be looking up, she was actually calling the guards. So the guards come in, Sylvie hides behind Judge Renslayer's judge's seat. And that's when she decides, okay, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. So while she and Renslayer are kind of going back and forth, she opens up the pruning stick. She jumps up like she's about to throw it at them. She turns it on herself and she prunes herself. I was like, okay, so we're getting all these different, like these two selfish Lokis that we have been introduced to, the one that we've known for a while. We're constantly seeing them change into different versions of themselves, into unexpected versions of themselves. And the only thing I could think of from that point, even through the end of this episode, I was like, if we get this amazing, matured version of Loki at the end of this series, and he's still dead in the MCU, I'm gonna be so heartbroken. Like, they have to find a way to bring him back now. You can't have a character go through this much growth
and then leave him dead,
and then just leave him there. You can't do that to us.
Yes, you can. They did it with Coulson. They did it with Coulson. He's a fully fleshed out character.
But at least with Coulson,
really
we got a
dead,
7.
I'm just saying, before he was dead, he was around. And he, in the MCU, for the most part, he's dead because they don't even mention him.
Yeah, and I understand that, but even with that, we only saw Coulson in little glimpses in the Iron Man movies and then in Avengers. Like, we didn't really have a time to really bond with him. We did love him for the time that he was there, and it was a catalyst for the Avengers becoming who they are. But for me, Coulson really, really became a favorite from watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we're not even going to go there because I'm still pissed about the fact that they are not included in this whole timeline for the MCU. Anyway,
I bonded with Coulson when he had the cards. I mean, I get your point, but for me, if they had never done a TV series, I would have been completely in love with Coulson because of his character.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that he's a pure fanboy sold it for me. Like, you got to see it a little bit in the Avengers, but then you got to see even more so in the show how much of a fanboy he is. Yeah, that was what did it for me with Coulson. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, Anthony, but still for me, I'm like, if we can't get this version of Loki anymore, like, I don't want this, like, we only have one episode left in this show. I do not want this to be the last time I get to see Loki. Don't give me that look. Don't do that. I'm ignoring you.
I mean, because what we can hope is that at the conclusion of this series, the pruning is stopped. And he will continue on like all the other Loki variants and all the other variants and live their lives. And we have multiple timelines, etc. So,
but I want to see that life.
Well,
I want to see him.
He'll have a tent pad, and he'll be able to hop in and out of the MCU. So there's that.
So I mean, Thor has 2 more movies, so
it can happen. I wouldn't say he won't show up. He may show up.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
But I do understand what you're saying. You bring back a character that everybody loves, and then just take him right back away. That kind of sucks.
Because I have to say it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I was really pissed when Thanos killed him, and he stayed dead. Like, even through the end of Endgame, I was waiting for him to be resurrected. I was waiting for him to come back.
Everybody
and then literally got to the end of the movie, and I'm sitting there watching them roll the credits, and I'm just like,
he's gone.
So we really aren't getting Loki back?
He's gone.
He's gone? What?
Go! Oh,
I was so perturbed. I was so upset. So they got to bring him back. I mean, we only have one episode left, and that's just, even though the action is picking up in this series, like again, we only have one episode to go, so you know it's about to be some shit. It's about to be like huge, 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 whatever. It's not enough. Y'all could have gave us 4 more episodes. We could have done a 10 episode series with this. I wouldn't be mad.
They don't want to give you too much. They want to keep you hanging on so you'll go to see the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, but if he's
They ain't
not
got to do
in
all
it,
that. I was going to do that anyway.
I was
Right.
gonna do that anyway.
That's what I said.
But
Same way I'm
anyway.
going to see Black Widow, even though she's supposedly
Tomorrow, yes.
Tomorrow.
Yep. But anyway, so Sylvie wakes up in the void. And not only that, she woke up in a school, but were those eggs was that a nest she woke up in?
It has to be the nest for those little purple birds that are like.
That's what I was
Oh,
wondering.
really?
Because I was
Because
like, those are eggs.
someone online had said that was Groot's thing that protected them when in Guardians of the Galaxy, because Ronan's ship is also there as well. In the landscape, Ronan's ship is there. And someone was saying it kind of looks like Groot's remember when Groot made the thing to protect them from the
but
I have to look at it again. I don't do freeze framing anymore, so
whatever.
And the person who I live with by marriage, she was the one that was like, "Hey, that's Ronan's ship." Side note: I was surprised and shocked and amazed that she remembered Ronan's name.
Do you see my face?
I was like, "Oh wait, you're right." So yeah.
Wait, she showed you up?
She did.
Saw something
I
you
wasn't
didn't
paying
see?
attention. She goes, "Hey, that's Ronan's ship over there." I was like, "Ronan? Oh wait, yeah, it is." Because I was like, she remembered Ronan's name. I was like, "Wait a second."
We're gonna have to put you off and put Michelle on. But yeah, I'm looking at it in the background now. Yes, she is laying in, it looks like a bird's nest, like she landed on some eggs. There's a blue egg with some gold specks. There's the shell of a red egg, and there's some other eggs in there. So she landed in a nest.
So maybe it was those funky birds that are walking around.
Yeah,
I don't know if those were birds.
Those things.
They look like golf club heads with a dot on
whatever
the top.
they were. That the first one they came out was definitely a Nexus event and needed to be pruned. Definitely.
right.
But you know what else this landscape reminded me of? It kind of sort of looked like the first season of the Shannara Chronicles, because I think the Golden Gate Bridge is in the background. When Sylvie comes out of the school bus and she stands up and she's looking around the landscape, there's a bridge in the background. It almost reminded me of the Shannara Chronicles, and with the there's cars that are embedded in the ground and that have grass and stuff overgrown. That's what it looked like.
Now that you mention it, yeah, I can see that. I can see that now that you mention it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the Alioth comes after her, the way that the smoke comes out of the bus, I was like, oh, it's the darkness from Supernatural. It's like I started seeing all of these different fandom references in this show, which I know they're probably not, but because of what we watch and the different things and how some of them have similarities, I was looking at the show like, oh, there's Supernatural. Oh, there's the Shannara Chronicles. Oh, there's this. I was like, okay. So while this thing is chasing Sylvie, it almost gets her. There's like a little bit of a wisp of the smoke that kind of comes around her. And as it does, she comes into contact with it and her power activates and she sees a series of images. Now, I'm not going to lie. I tried to freeze frame this so that I could try to tell what these images are. I still couldn't tell. Like, it looked like a castle, or it looked like some kind of doorway, or were any of you able to see what it was?
I couldn't tell.
No freeze framing over here.
You know what?
Wait, which way? Which part?
The part where Sylvie is being chased by the Alioth and it almost grabs her. and her power activates, and she sees.
Oh,
like,
she saw
she gets a
Asgard.
glimpse.
She saw her home. That's what she saw.
It looked like Asgard.
She saw,
Yeah.
she saw. I now know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's what she
Okay.
saw. She saw a glimpse of where she was from. She connected to it for like
Oh.
a split second.
Okay, because so as soon as you said Asgard, I was able to freeze frame it, and I did see like a door being destroyed. So I'm wondering if she's seeing like the vision of when her timeline was being reset. Because what was it that Renslayer said? When a timeline is reset, they can't destroy all the matter, so they send some of that there. I want, and then this particular thing is supposed to be the thing that makes sure that nothing gets out. So it basically consumes everything. I'm like, is that what she's seeing? Is she seeing the destruction of her home? Like, it was just weird. And then there's a tower, and then there was a light that she saw. But again, everything was going so fast. And as she sees this, she's kind of able to get away from it.
Okay, I freeze frame. It's not Asgard. I think she's seeing where the person who's doing all this is at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did some freeze framing. I broke my rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's already over, Anthony. I mean, you already said you had a theory. You've been giving theories.
I was restating your theory, which is not my theory.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I think it looks like this is the place that they go at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think she saw it.
Okay. So then as she's running away from it, the Alioth stops, and she sees this car coming towards her. And I'm like, who's driving the car? Because I didn't think Loki would get to her that quick. So I was like, who is this driving the car? Car comes, opens the door, she jumps in, and it takes off, and she's like, you. And then we see Mobius. And I was like, yes! Because I was really hoping that he wasn't dead. But I didn't know if I should have expected him in this void, because he's not a Loki. And, we kind of see what this thing does when the prune people get there. Like we said earlier, the SSS Eldridge just lands in the middle, and all of the sailors are on it. And then here comes the Alioth, like, oh, it's dinner time. And we get to see, them trying to fight it off. But I was like, okay, if it consumes things that quickly, I mean, literally it consumed the ship and the sailors, and they all turn to like rust and all of this other I was like, oh, that's not something I would want to tangle with. And then the fact that both Sylvie and Loki wanted to go back to it for different things, like Sylvie wanted to try to enchant it, Loki was going to try to kill it. I'm like, both of y'all got a death wish. Stay away from that thing. We've already seen both of y'all pruned once.
Ain't no
and then me. Right. And then with me, with Loki, I was like, excuse me, sir, I've seen you die too many times in the last 10 years. Can you please stay away from that thing? Just stay away. Go live your happy life with classic Loki, kid Loki, alligator Loki, and be done. But where is this pizza car reference to? Is that a reference to anything?
The license plate, GRNW1D, is a reference to Mark Gruenwald. He's a Marvel Comics writer. He created Alioth and like a whole lot of other things for Marvel.
Okay.
So that's kind of a nod
I
to him.
thought it was shout out to Pixar. Pixar always putting in the pizza car in their movies.
See, that's what I was thinking too. But I was like, no, it was a pizza truck. And I couldn't remember if it had like the pizza dangling on top of it.
It did.
But that's what I thought about too. Again, I was like, am I gonna see Woody and Buzz Lightyear running?
Was there a Loki that looked like Sid with like a little skull shirt on it and stuff?
You know what? There was one with red hair, so I don't know. I might have to go back and freeze frame and look and just kind of get an idea of, okay, let me see what all these different Lokis look like, because they all looked like really different.
It made my head hurt. I was going to write down everybody's costume, but I was like, no. Like there was one with like bicycle with like bicycle handles on his head. There was one covered with license plate. I was like, I can't do this. This I can't. It's a lot.
So I just happened to freeze frame it again. I did not notice that the pyramids and the Sphinx were also in the background.
Yeah, he was driving towards them. Yeah.
What else did did I miss? Like, I feel like I need to go back and just frame for frame.
Don't get sucked in. Don't do it. Don't get sucked in.
I mean, there was a helicarrier. There was
Don't
like
get sucked in.
There was like a couple of things. There was like a marquee for a drive-in.
I noticed that it said Wrightsville Theater. I just noticed that one. But
yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Lokis now. And of course, we saw the President Loki. There's one who looks like he should be, he's got the beaver hat on his head. And then there's another one who's got a helmet with, I don't know if these are like utensils, forks, and knives, but I was looking at him like, he looks like, what's his name from, oh goodness, I can't think of what cartoon it is. I want to say He-Man, but I don't know if my brain is working right. But I was like, these people, you got one, oh no, the one that has the handlebar. Yeah, the handlebars. Horns, it's not handlebars. That's actually his hair. He's got locks that are twisted and they're formed in the shape of handlebars.
Oh my God.
So yeah, there's one that looks like an Ozzy Osbourne reject. So they just did. And there's so much, like, in the Loki's lair. There's so much stuff in there. There's one Loki, the one that's standing next to him. He's got the red hair. He's got on a costume that looks like Sirius Black's prison guard from Azkaban, and he's got a headband thing on his head that looks like the headbands that Naruto wears. It's just like, there's so much stuff in this episode. You've got candy canes, looks like Willy Wonka. They're in an old bowling alley. They've got popcorn machines and pinball machines, and it's just, I don't know who does the set design for this show. They took a lot of time with this Loki layer, I should say, because it's got everything. It's even got something that looks like fake plants going in and out, and I'm sitting here thinking about Audrey 2 from the show. It's like so much stuff in here.
Oh man.
But it made the episode fun, but I don't know how long that popcorn has been sitting in that popcorn machine.
Probably for a minute.
It also has the Polybius arcade machine,
game. I saw that,
which is an urban legend about this game that used to hypnotize kids in arcades, but no one could ever prove it actually existed.
Yeah, nobody's ever found one.
There are people that have claimed that they've played it and like they've seen it carried away out of arcades by Men in Black, but none of that has ever been verified. But it's a thing. It's a thing that there's an urban legend about the game that
it's one of the craziest ones ever, man.
Yeah, it's one of those obscure urban legends that only us nerds ever talk about.
Oh my goodness, I had never heard that, but okay. My daughter found it absolutely hilarious that alligator Loki bit off President hand, and then walked away chewing like, "Yep."
And the scream that Loki let out.
The scream.
He was like, "Ah!" I was not expecting that. I was like, "How the hell did you get that high pitch ass scream out of his mouth?" Like, damn.
This episode was so fun. Oh, wait, Mike, you're right. I'm sorry. I do see the guy. He's got a helmet with bicycle handlebars fused into it. I do see him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this episode was a lot.
It was a lot. A lot. So later on in the episode, like I said, Mobius, he rescues Sylvie. They talk, they have a little conversation. Of course, Mobius is kind of, lamenting about the fact that the TVA has lied to him his whole life. And it was almost like he was trying to justify it. He was like, well, when you think you're doing the right thing, she was like, oh yeah, going around orphaning little girls. Yeah, that's such a hero thing to do. And you've been trying to kill me for as long as I can remember. He's like,
sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that. And it's just kind of one of those things where he's like, okay, so now what are we going to do? She's like, yeah, we're going to go back to the big monster cloud so we can try to get to the person that's behind all this. He's like, huh? we're going back? Like, we can't just keep going and just
Right.
find somewhere to lay low? No, because and you have to think about it this way.
Sylvie's got
If
shit to do.
Renslayer,
She ain't trying to hang out. She's like,
not
we're
only
going back.
that, but Renslayer knows, she's told Sylvie about the void. Okay. Now, if Renslayer knows anything about this variant Loki, it's that she doesn't give up. And also, just like she learned when she went to go talk to B15, she asked B15, what is it that drives her? And B15 is like, revenge drives her. And Renslayer looks a little taken aback, like she wasn't expecting that to be her answer. But think about it. This little girl was just fine until you came and took her life from her. Why wouldn't revenge be her motive? You took everything from her. And like B15 also told her, she said, as far as you wanting to find out who's behind all of this, she says, you'll never get to them before she does because you want it. Sylvie needs it. She needs it. She's going to have to get this resolved in order to move on with her life, if that is what she's meant to do. We don't even know if she's going to have a life after this show.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen to them. They could all die trying to get to whoever is behind all of this. They might get pruned again for good. They might be eliminated from the timeline, eliminated from reality. We don't know. But at this point, Sylvie needs to do this. She needs to get some kind of, I don't know if revenge is the correct word. I don't know if closure, but she has to do something. Like, you did this one thing to her and it completely changed the scope of her life. You made her live alone without anyone to depend on for who knows how many years. Yeah, she's gonna be looking for some revenge, and then after she gets her revenge, guess what? I have a feeling she's gonna be coming back for Judge Renslayer. So Judge Renslayer is not just going to sit there and be like, oh, well, she pruned herself. Her and Loki are in the void. I don't have to worry about them. Because if it's anything that you know about these two, they're going to find a way. Remember, they were on a planet seconds away from being killed by another planet crashing into them. And they were able to create a Nexus event without them even knowing it. And they got saved. Now, they can do something like that without even knowing that that's what they're doing. Can you imagine what the two of them can accomplish together as a unified team?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Man, please, Renslayer better go find her own void to go in. I'm just saying.
It's not gonna be nothing nice when Sylvie do come back.
And look, if there's anything nice to come back to, because I have a feeling her and Mobius gonna go at it.
That's true.
Because at this point too, Mobius has some revenge to get too, because they took his life too. Yeah. They stole him. Mobius could have been on the beach on a jet ski somewhere.
Right. And instead he's running for his life from the fold and shit. Like, that ain't where I told you to put me. Did I tell you to put me on the
right? I said a jet ski.
Right.
The hell.
She don't listen, clearly.
At all.
No.
So one of the things that made me happy, we don't get to see Loki happy very often. When he saw Sylvie was in the void, the way he took off running towards her, I thought was
my
so
boo.
Cute. He was like, my friend, hey.
No, my boo, not my friend. My boo.
Or my me.
Hey, girl.
My me. Because when the other two, when Kid Loki and Classic Loki approach, she looks like she's about to go hurt him. He's like, no, stop. Those are my friends. Well, for lack of a better word, that's us in the past, that's us in the future, and that's us as an actor. And she just looked at him like, he was like, it's best not to question it. Like, how do you even explain that?
You don't.
Like,
really.
When they were back there trading their Nexus events and stuff, like, okay, I know we learned a little bit about Alligator Loki. Apparently, he ate the wrong neighbor's cat, and that was his Nexus event.
Man.
But I want to know, like, more about Alligator. Like, I mean,
like why?
Right. I mean, but also too,
why?
Mobius kind of he kind of brings up a point. He was like, he might not even be a Loki. And of course, I was really sitting there like when Mobius was saying all of this, he was like, well, how do you know? Well, he might be lying. He might not be a Loki. I was like, Mobius, he's about to come and bite your hand off. But funnily enough, he sat there. He didn't do anything. He didn't make any noise to indicate that Mobius might be on the wrong track or anything. I was like, maybe he's not a Loki.
But then he says, yeah, but then he really could be. Like, that would be in the nature of a Loki to lie about not being a
Right,
Loki.
the games
right?
within games that you guys play. So let's talk about this tete-a-tete between the two Lokis, between Sylvie and Loki.
You mean the soft, mushy, romantic scene between these two Lokis?
See, in some ways it read that way, and in some ways it didn't. You know, there's been a lot of talk about what this relationship is between the two of them, and what exactly was the nature of the Nexus event. Like, was it romantic? Was it just, you know, them realizing they didn't have to be alone? Was it just a bonding moment? Whatever it was. But the other thing I thought about just in this episode, watching the two of them interact with each other, them making the decision to try to face Eliath and what happens afterwards, I just really thought about the fact that yes, it could be looked at romantically, and if it is, okay. If it's not, okay. The thing that really got me was they both have been alone for a long time in different ways. Like Loki has been alone, I feel like, in his own mind, because like I said in the last episode when we talked about it, he was never really alone. He had Thor, he had Frigga, he had Odin, even though in his mind he put up barriers because of what he perceived as, you know, them not loving him or whatever the case was. Sylvie has been on her own. She has been alone. And the one thing they both realized on that planet was they don't deserve to be alone. And that also at the same time, they were probably glad that if they had to die, they had someone there to be with them. The other thing is, in this episode, I feel like the way that they relate to each other, the way that they connect with each other, it's also about Loki, like literally learning to love himself, learning that he is not broken, he is not something that's only meant to cause pain and ruin. It's about him learning to love himself, and he becomes powerful doing that. And in this episode too, them apart and them together, it's like that's a huge thing for both of them. And then you get to see also with the classic Loki, when they are off facing the Eliath and Sylvie's intent is to enchant it, but Loki has to serve as a distraction, and he's not distracting enough because the Eliath is drawn to whatever Sylvie is doing. He's like, okay, let me go stop this girl. Let me go kill her or whatever. When it was coming after Sylvie and Loki couldn't keep its attention, he's running towards Sylvie to try to protect her, to try to save her, to try to get the thing's attention. I don't know what his intent was, but then all of a sudden you see these buildings start to go up in this green glow, and the Elias' attention is drawn over to the right, and it's classic Loki, and he is literally creating Asgard from his magic. And I was like, whoa, that's fucking amazing. And he was just doing it. And then when Sylvie asked Loki, she's like, how is he doing that? And Loki is like, I think we're more powerful than we realize.
Yeah. That was pretty freaking amazing. I mean, it's like we know that he has the power to like clone himself and like throw images of himself everywhere, because Classic Loki was doing, when they were fighting, Classic Loki was throwing images of himself over there. Then he teleported them out of there. So it's like he obviously has a lot of powers that are yet untapped. So it'll be interesting to see like
well, think about it. One of the things that classic Loki said to him, because when they were talking about their Nexus events and their death, and Loki was talking about, he said, oh, your Nexus event, you didn't try to stab Thanos, did you? And he says to him, no, because I don't use a blade because blades limit our magical potential. And think about it. Loki always uses blades when he fights. So if he puts down the blade and just tries to use his power, just like we saw with him and Sylvie towards the end, when she told him, we're going to enchant this thing. And he's like, I don't know how. She was like, you have it in you. And then them clasping hands, of course, they're both of their magic is like fused together. Now that they're two is more powerful than one. They were actually able to enchant this thing and actually get a view of where whoever this person is hiding. But he gets to do that. He helps enchant this monster, and this is not a power he's had before. So if he goes into all of this now knowing, okay, you know what? I'm stronger than I think I am, and I don't need to rely on anything but myself in order to be powerful. Can you imagine how powerful he's going to be? Again, this is why we need him to stay in the MCU. They cannot let this show be the end of him. Don't be smirking at me, Anthony. I see you. They can't do this to us.
Yes, they can.
No, you cannot. You cannot give us this fully realized Loki, a Loki who is not necessarily all the way emotionally healthy, but he's better than he's been. He's stronger. He's not alone. He has people that he can call friends that he trusts. You can't give us this well-rounded Loki and then snatch him from us 52 minutes later.
Kevin Feige giveth and he taketh away.
No.
His whole purpose has been realized. That's what he was trying to do. Make Loki not such a bad dude, make you love him, and then snatch him away.
Yeah. You always hurt the ones you love. And Kevin hurts us constantly.
You got a song for everything, Mike.
I got the music in me. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Just like Loki had the power in him.
Exactly.
He did.
Segue. Whoop.
He did. But during the little heart-to-heart conversation that they had, Loki and Sylvie, they talked about what they would do if the TVA is gone. Okay, so if they're not going to bring Loki back to the MCU, what are they going to do? What do you guys think they're going to do? Are they going to be able to restore their pruned timeline, pruned timelines and go back?
Yeah, it's called Loki season 2.
You think they're going to give us one?
This would be the series they could do it with,
right?
Because it doesn't track with the MCU.
True.
Now I don't see Tim Hiddleston committing to a television series, but if they can keep it limited to this, like 6 episodes, he could do it.
Because he seems to enjoy playing Loki.
Enjoy playing Loki for a limited 6 episode series is not the same as committing to a series.
It's keeping him employed.
Oh, like he has a problem.
Like someone's not going to employ him.
Come on, really?
I mean, think about it.
He's the executive producer on the show, so
I know. I do know that, but I mean, think about it. There are still some places who are still very limited in what they are shooting and limited in what they are doing because of COVID. And there are some actors who can't get to work because of the limitations. I mean, think about it. One of the actors in one of the shows that we watch, A Discovery of Witches, the guy who plays Baldwin, had to get recast because he can't travel for work because of COVID restrictions. So it's like in this time, even though, yes, the vaccine is out there and people are getting it, we now have these COVID variants that are coming out,
right?
that are causing issues. I mean, I read something today talking about the Delta variant being probably a more dangerous variant of of COVID. So if this thing is not completely over and you've already had these protocols put into place for your show and it's been safe for you to film and they say, hey, we want to do another, we want to do another season. Would you be up for it? If there aren't many things that you are able to do because of the restrictions, why not commit to a second season? You'll be working, you'll be in a better position than a lot of people are, because there are some people who aren't working. There are some actors who can't work because of what's going on with the pandemic.
That's true.
So I wouldn't argue with it. And I mean, think about it. Loki is the character that kind of made Tom Hiddleston a household name. Think about the casting announcement when Thor was announced. The headline literally said Disney or Marvel goes with two practically unknown actors to headline the Thor movie. They were practically unknown at that time. So, I mean, like I said, Loki has made him a household name. Women swoon over him. Taylor Swift dated him, so it's kind of like
that was so weird, dude. I was like,
that same thing my daughter said. I brought it up today too. She was like, that was one of the weirdest fucking relationships ever. She was like, I don't even see.
It's just random. I'm like, of all people, that would be like Lenny Kravitz and like Evan Rachel Wood dating. Like, what? Who? How?
That actually could work. I mean, Lenny Kravitz can work with anybody. So.
Okay.
So, let love rule. Hey, but
you talk about my songs. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying. Well, I didn't sing. I'm not about to embarrass myself like that. But yeah. So anyway, like we were saying, the two, even though she doesn't like being called Loki, Sylvie and Loki, they join together. They're able to enchant this beast, and we're able to see this castle or whatever this layer is for the person who might be controlling the TVA. And then the damn credits roll and we get no mid-credit scene. I was like, y'all are so wrong for this. Y'all know we're itching for some more stuff. But I am sad that classic Loki died, because as he was trying to help Loki and Sylvie, the Alioth came after him, but he was happy. He was like, glorious purpose, like, I found my purpose. He was crying and everything. I found my, he had that air about him. Glorious purpose.
That was awesome. I mean, how often do you get to find your purpose and to fully realize it? But then again, we have to realize Lokis are hard to kill. So it's like, it's possible that we could be seeing him again.
Maybe he became the Alioth.
That'd be funny as shit.
That would. But this episode was fun. And then, the Loki and Mobius hug. I was like, oh, look. He has a friend. He has a best friend. That's so sweet. Yay. I don't know. I love this episode. I love this show. Now, I will say this, though. I know a lot of people have been saying that, they feel like this is the best show so far. I'm still not quite there. I still loved Falcon and Winter Soldier more, I think, because I was more emotionally invested with those two characters, because they have been my favorites for a long time. But this show is up there. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. They did so much with this show. And like we said, only 5 episodes in so far. We still only have 1 episode. But for the way that it started, I mean, that first episode was kind of slow. Oh, there's a Chitauri, whatchamacallit, ship in the background. But the episode, the show started off slow, and then it's like episode 3, episode 4, episode 5 is like, oh my God, what are you guys like trying to hit us with everything at once? We only have 1 episode left. Oh, yep, there's the helicarrier. You know what? I'm gonna have to go back and just freeze frame and just look at everything in this void and see,
and just leave it alone. Don't even say it.
And just see what they put in here, because there's so much stuff. I don't know. I'm happy and I'm sad because I don't want this show to end.
All good things must come to an end.
Yeah, we're gonna get a whole lot. Yeah. One more thing. Anthony just put in a group chat. That's what the Stark Tower thing actually said QENG. and it's from an episode in Avengers book. Hold on, I got it right here. It's all new, all different Avengers #1. Yeah, it's from a gentleman named Mr. Griffin, who actually turns out to be Kang the Conqueror, bought the tower from Tony Stark and renamed it QENG Tower. And it's like Anthony just put that in chat. So I mean, so shout out to another callback to it actually being Kang coming in, which means Anthony's probably up to 60% now.
34.3.
No, don't even tell that lie. It's more than that.
Huge shout out to Kid Loki for having a high C ecto cooler sitting on that throne.
It was so funny because right,
exactly,
because when they were sitting there drinking everything, my daughter said he has a high C. I was just like,
not just any high C, not just
ecto freaking cooler. I actually, when I saw it was high C, I was like, he does not have a fucking ecto cooler. I actually rewound it 10 seconds and went back to see. I was like, he has a freaking ecto, like an original carton of ecto cooler, like the original design.
They had a lot of throwbacks in
this whole series. Like, man, I'm waiting to see if any of these things actually come back to being actually come back like Josta Cola. Like, I'm wondering if they're going to actually start selling that again.
No. We don't want that kind of stuff, because think about it. If that's the case, we'd all be drinking Fresca right now. So no, let's not go there.
Oh, Lord.
Let's not go there.
Shout out to the Roxxon wine. It's another throwback to the Roxxon Corporation. Fun fact, Roxxon was the main antagonist for Jane Foster during her Thor run. So that's kind of a throwback throw to that coming up. There's a lot of stuff that's like thrown to coming up.
Mike, I am really impressed with your research skills tonight. Like, you are on point.
I can't think. Everybody did a pretty good deal of research. Even Anthony with his theories and freeze frames. I'm proud of you, sir. I'm very proud of you. I knew you'd come out of it. I knew you'd snap out of it. I feel like I've been waiting for somebody to come to get cured of amnesia. It's like at the end of like a sitcom where someone has amnesia and they finally come out of it and they're like, "Wait, Mike, I have a theory." Yes, hallelujah! He is back. He's back.
I was merely repeating your theory. It wasn't my theory.
It's still working. I don't care what you say. I'm totally taking all the pride for that. That was something else I had.
This. When the Alioth is going towards classic Loki's Asgard, he looks like one of the monsters from Godzilla. Like, I'm just seeing everything in this episode. Even though, like, crazy. I don't know if that's what we were supposed to see, but that's what it looks like.
It does count. It does look like that.
Also, is it me or does the main villain's lair, does it look like the Rainbow Bridge in the background? It looks very similar. It's a similar color scheme, but I know it's in the sky.
Maybe it's built out of a combination of things that he's pruned that he likes, like, because since the Void has a lot of pruned things, maybe he's building his own thing of things that he likes, and when he doesn't like something, he discards it into the Void. It's just like a kid playing with toys and blocks and stuff. Like, he builds something, then he's like, I don't like this, and then like kind of breaks it and moves it apart, then puts it and brings something else in.
Well, I know that it's a bowling alley. I know that much.
A bowling alley leading to a mall Santa throne. Like, that's the most random shit.
I don't know. But I will say I love Loki and Sylvie, but this episode was all about classic Loki and Kid Loki for me. Like, if we could see more of them, I would not be mad.
Or see Gator Loki chasing a flukin, like trying to eat it.
Alligator Loki versus Goose.
That'd be awesome.
So I have a question, Lori. Has your opinion about Lady Loki changed at all in this series? Because I know when she was first introduced, y'all should see the stank look Lori has on her face. Right?
I'm still not. I mean, not really. No, because I know that no matter what happens toward the end, well, we're at the end almost. It's not gonna change anything. I think that something will move forward for him. But for her, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where I find that she was like a figment of his imagination or something. Or,
I hope not.
Or she drops off the side of a cliff, or he wakes up and it's all a dream. I'm telling you, something like that could happen for her. So yeah, no.
Would it change your opinion if she turns out to actually be the Enchantress and not Lady Loki?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be the only thing if she was the Enchantress.
I think they've established that she is the Enchantress. It's just that this version of
Loki.
But this version of Enchantress is Loki. So
yeah, well, I kind of want to. It was Agnes all along moment with her. You know, because I want I want the executioner to turn out to have been alligator Loki in disguise. You know, I just want that to happen. You know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Have we gone over the theory that I don't think we have. I saw something that I might have put it in chat about the Enchantress. Heard the Enchantress's Nexus event was wanting to be a Valkyrie.
I put that in there because
saw that too.
Yeah, because a personal friend of mine actually wrote that article, and when I saw it, I was like, that. I was like, that's such a good theory. Like that's the reason why they snatched her, because she was actually wanting to be good instead of being a Loki. She wanted to be a Valkyrie. That's such a good theory. Shout out to Fayfix Collington for writing that article on Screen Rant. So yeah. But
I mean, even Thor wanted to be a Valkyrie, so why wouldn't she?
He did say that, didn't he?
Yep.
So yeah, not far-fetched at all. I mean, when I read the headline, I was like, that makes so much sense.
Who wouldn't want to hang out with Tessa Thompson?
I would want to hang out with her.
I'm in. What time?
I'm in for drunken shenanigans with Valkyrie. Yes, very much so.
Yeah, Valkyrie too. I thought we were talking. Never mind.
So I'm looking at this last parting shot before the episode ends. This castle looks like a mixture of Hogwarts and the Downton Abbey Manor. Like, I'm just seeing everything today. But that's what it looks like. Can you imagine Loki going to Hogwarts and then Voldemort trying to fight him? That would be like the ultimate magical battle there.
Or just imagine Loki walking in and instantly turning into Snape.
No,
just walking in and slamming doors with a flourish. And
I just see Voldemort getting so frustrated with Loki. Just like that's all I see. He's trying to fight him, and it's the most ridiculous thing keeps happening. And it's like, oh my god, I can.
It would be like trying to fight Gilderoy Lockhart. Right. Like just the sheer ridiculousness of it.
Oh, Voldemort would get so frustrated. He'd just walk away.
Right. Just, you know what? Avada Kedavra and be done.
Oh, man. That's hilarious.
All right. We got one episode left, y'all. What are we expecting to see?
I'm looking forward to seeing, whoever it is living in that castle, whether it be Kang, Dr. Doom, He Who Remains. We'll see.
Okay, so who is He Who Remains? I know about the other two. Who is He Who Remains?
In the comic book, he's the one that created. He's the one that created the TVA in the comic books.
Ah, okay.
He's preparing everybody for the next universe because apparently there's a cycle.
Ah,
it's a little weird, but it has to do with the TVA and
He's not the same as the one above all, right?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so, because
Laurie,
him who remains is a different.
He Who Remains and the one above all, those two different people.
Should be, yes.
Yeah.
Because there's actually it goes outside of comic books, because the Jim Butcher also uses it in the Dresden Files. There's actually three. There's He Who Remains, He Who Walks Behind, and there's He Who Walks in Front. So there's three different ones, and it's through mainly Norse mythology, and it has something to do with godlike beings who are omnipotent, but they also have darker dealings with not quite demonic, but more pure evil, and they only are called to this earth when something is like sort of like a major event, like say a Watcher would show up in comic books. So yeah, they're linked together, but they're three separate entities. And this thing we only have two.
Okay.
And so I just looked at one above all is the creator of the multiverse. He who remains is just the guy at the end of the universe, getting us ready for the next one.
So basically, it's a play on the Crones, the three sisters, I should say, the Virgin, the Mother, and the
Okay.
Amen.
So does that answer your question, Hanukkah?
Yes and no, but it would lead to a whole lot more questions, and we're not going to go there.
Well, to me, for it to be He Who Remains, it would be like it's the simplest answer. It would be the person that built the robots, that created the TVA, and we'll spend the last episode trying to find out why he did it.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So my Kang meter is back down to 80%.
I'm right around 34.3.
But have we heard anything in any news media or anything being released about He Who Remains?
No.
Okay.
But I will say
we
this.
have heard about Kang the Conqueror.
Yes, we have. Well, but I would say this. You remember we were talking about, I don't know if this was on the show or previous shows, but how one of the reasons Thanos got motivated to go ahead and get the stones was because, Odin had died, the Ancient One was dead, Ego was dead.
You and I were talking about this before we started recording tonight.
Yeah. So with them out of the way, he had no one that could oppose him. Well, here, if He Who Remains is killed, or if Loki and Sylvie stops him, then they would make it easier for Kang to come along and do what he wants to do, which is control the multiverse.
Okay.
It's true.
So it could be related. God, it sounds like a theory.
It is a theory. Just go ahead and say it, Paul. It's okay.
I'm gonna stop right there.
No, keep going. No.
You can finish this one out, and then we'll leave you alone.
I'll finish the thought.
No, we won't. Don't lie. Monaco, don't lie to him. You know we're going to still mess with. You can't lie to the man.
I'll leave you alone. I'll leave Mike to continue to pester you.
I'll finish my thought. It seems like this might be clearing the path for Kang, in the same way that WandaVision kind of cleared the path for what's going to happen in multiverse of madness. And
yes, there you go.
Yeah, and how we're getting set up for another, I guess, I don't know what Sam and Bucky are gonna do, but whatever they got cooking for those guys.
I don't care. They could, they could have just showed us Sam and Bucky like having a whole summer full of cookouts, and I would have watched it. So I'm just saying.
Facts.
I'm just saying. Look, do y'all want to see what this is my lock screen on my phone. Mm-hmm. I have Sam and Bucky on my phone, so I watch them in anything.
I'm here
reciting the ABCs, and I watch it.
I'm here for Bucky flirting with Sarah. I just think.
Yeah.
I'm Sarah.
I'm on Sam's. Yeah.
Hey. How you doing?
No. Oh goodness. All right.
Yeah, He Who Remains. He founded he created the TVA.
Okay.
So that's going to be the bad guy.
Okay. So you're calling it.
I'm calling it.
Who's behind the curtain.
That's going to be behind the curtain.
Okay. Anybody else have any guesses that they want to put forward?
I said Kang. I'm sticking with Kang. Fuck it. Even though Anthony's theory is sound, and I think he's probably right, I'm going to actually stick with Kang just to be wrong.
And since they combined the female Loki and Enchantress, they may combine He Who Remains with Kang, and it's the same person.
Okay.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Kang is a master of disguise, so he's been a lot of different people. He's almost an international super spy.
I never thought of him as disguising himself. I always thought of him as like he's really into transitioning.
Cosplay?
No, he's really into rediscovering himself and reinventing himself, and he does it over and over again. It's not
Kinda
really
like Loki.
It's not really disguised. It's just like, okay, well, now I have become this and I am better than I was before. It's not necessarily I'm someone
Okay.
and I'm pretending or hiding hiding who I really am. No, he actually was Franklin Richards, who became Kang, who became Immortus. He just, and Mr. Griffin, he just changes who he is, not necessarily disguising himself. He evolves. So it'll be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they combine Kang and He Who Remains, or whatever's left after He Who Remains becomes Kang, and we see him later. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We have a week. That's not long.
What would really freak people out, but it's probably not going to happen, is if it's actually Franklin Richards in there playing with toys and shit.
We're not doing that. We're not
Or Mephisto. No, I'm just playing.
It's Mephisto confirmed. He's coming out of the stained glass window.
And on that note, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.